In the vast galaxy of Zarnath, the noble alien houses ruled with pride and power. Among them, House Varath was known for its strength and its royal princess, Hyra. She was beautiful and smart, but cursed. No one in her family could have children for generations. This made her weak in the eyes of many nobles. One day, during the Great Galactic Festival, the leaders of House Varath wanted to make a joke at the expense of humans. Humans were seen as simple and weak by many aliens. The nobles laughed at how humans could never compete with their advanced technology or long histories. To mock the humans, House Varath decided to gift Princess Xyra to a human man named Jake. Jake was a soldier from Earth, known for his bravery, but also for his rough and simple ways. The nobles thought it was funny. Giving an infertile alien princess to a human would show how useless both were. At the grand ceremony, Thyra stood tall and proud, her violet eyes cold and full of quiet anger. She wore her royal blue robes, but her body language said she did not want to be there. Jake stood beside her, surprised and confused. He was not sure why the powerful alien house would give him such a gift, or if it was even a gift at all. The crowd of nobles and ambassadors laughed and whispered, "Look at the poor princess," one sneered. "She is useless. No children, no power." Another added, "And the human will never handle her. It is a joke." Xyra said nothing. She refused to show weakness. Jake, on the other hand, tried to smile but felt anger rise inside him. He did not like being made fun of, and he did not like the way the princess was treated. After the ceremony, Jake and Xyra were sent to a small human settlement on a far planet called New Dawn. It was a rough place, far from the shiny palaces and high-tech cities of the alien nobles. For days, they avoided each other. Xyra stayed quiet and proud. Jake worked hard, repairing old machines and trying to understand the strange alien woman now with him. Both felt alone but trapped by the joke that others played on them. One night, under the red skies of New Dawn, Jake finally spoke. "Why did they give you to me?" he asked quietly. Xyra looked at him, her voice calm but strong. "Because I am broken. Because I have no future with my people." Jake's face hardened. "You're not broken. No one can say that." Xyra's eyes softened just a little. For the first time, she felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this joke was not the end. Maybe, just maybe, there was a different story waiting to be told. Days passed on New Dawn, the small planet where Jake and Princess Xyra were left to live. The red dust swirled around their simple home, and the wind whispered strange sounds through the rocks. The two were like strangers in a strange world, distant and silent. Jake was a man of action. His hands knew how to fix machines and fight battles, but talking to Xyra was difficult. She spoke slowly and carefully, choosing her words like they were precious. Her voice was soft, but carried the weight of many unspoken thoughts. At first, they barely spoke. Jake worked outside, repairing old vehicles and gathering food from the rocky land. Xyra stayed inside, studying ancient books and looking at the stars through a small window. Both felt alone in their own way. One evening, a sudden storm blew across the sky. The wind howled, and dust filled the air. Jake hurried back to their home, worried about Xyra. When he entered, he found her sitting on the floor, pale and weak. "Xyra, are you okay?" Jake asked, dropping to his knees beside her. She shook her head slowly. "This planet's air. It is hard for me to breathe," she said, coughing softly. Jake felt a strong urge to protect her. He made a fire and wrapped her in a warm blanket. "You have to stay strong," he said quietly. "I won't let anything happen to you." Xyra looked at him with surprise. No one had ever cared for her like this before. She nodded and whispered, "Thank you." That night, the storm passed, but something had changed between them. They began to talk more, sharing stories about their worlds. Jake told Xyra about Earth. its blue oceans and green forests, places she had only seen in holograms. Zyra told Jake about her home planet, the great cities and the heavy weight of royal duties. Despite their differences, they found small things in common, dreams of freedom, of being more than what others expected. Jake learned that Zyra was not just a princess, she was a warrior too, trained to defend her people, even if they now rejected her. One afternoon, while fixing an old robot, Jake laughed for the first time since Zyra arrived. She smiled too, a rare and bright smile that lit her face. For the first time, they were not just a prisoner and a joke. They were companions. But the galaxy beyond New Dawn was still watching. News of the gift spread, and many aliens mocked them. Yet, quietly, some began to wonder if Jake and Zyra might be more than a joke. If they could survive here, far from power and pride, maybe there was hope. Zyra looked at Jake one evening, her eyes clear and determined. They gave me to you to humiliate me, but maybe together we can prove them wrong. Jake nodded. We're stronger than they think. In that quiet moment, under the red sky, two very different souls began to build a bond that would change their lives and perhaps the future of the galaxy. Life on New Dawn was hard. The planet's red dust made every task difficult, and food was never easy to find. But Jake and Zyra learned to live together. Each day brought new challenges, and each challenge brought them closer. One morning, as the sun rose behind dusty mountains, Zyra woke feeling stronger than usual. She stretched her arms and walked outside to help Jake. He was fixing an old water pump, its metal parts rusted and broken. Here, try this, Jake said, handing her a tool. Zyra took it carefully. Her hands moved with surprising skill. She tightened bolts, adjusted wires, and before long, the pump sputtered to life, sending water flowing into a small basin. Jake whistled in surprise. You've got a knack for this. Zyra smiled softly. My people taught me many things, not just how to fight, but how to survive. Jake looked at her with new respect. He had thought she was fragile, broken. But here, under the harsh sun, she was strong. That evening, as they ate a simple meal, Zyra spoke about her royal training. I was trained in the arts of war, strategy, and healing. Even if I cannot have children, I have skills that can protect and save. Jake nodded slowly. We need those skills here. This place can kill you if you're not careful. Days turned into weeks. Zyra's health grew stronger. Strange things began to happen. When Jake was hurt fixing a machine, Zyra's hands glowed faintly, and his wound closed faster than normal. Jake stared at his arm in amazement. What was that? Zyra looked embarrassed. A healing power from my bloodline. I thought it was just a legend. They both realized that Zyra was not just an infertile princess. She was more powerful than anyone expected. Her family had hidden secrets, and their jokes were built on lies. One night, as the stars shone bright, Zyra took Jake's hand. We are not as weak as they say. We can change their minds. Jake squeezed her hand. Then let's show them what humans and aliens together can do. But the galaxy was not quiet. News of the gift had reached other planets. Some nobles laughed harder, mocking Zyra's failure. Others watched with fear. A powerless princess suddenly showing strength was dangerous. Back on New Dawn, Jake and Zyra prepared for what was coming. The joke had turned into a challenge. They would have to fight, not just to survive, but to prove that no one should underestimate them. Together, they faced a future full of danger and hope. Word traveled fast across the galaxy, faster than Jake or Zyra had ever imagined. What was meant as a cruel joke, giving the infertile alien princess to a human, had become something else entirely. The nobles who laughed at the gift now whispered nervously in dark halls and shining palaces. On the great planet Zarneth, the ruling council gathered. The high nobles wore their ceremonial robes and glared at the holoscreen showing a news report from New Dawn. The report showed Syra and Jake working together, surviving, and growing stronger every day. How is this possible? One noble demanded. The princess should be weak. She should be broken. Another sneered. They mock us with this human and expect us to believe she has power. It is an insult. But deep inside, fear was spreading. The story of the infertile princess thriving with a human was dangerous. It gave hope to those who had long been oppressed, humans, aliens, and others who suffered under the noble house's rule. Back on New Dawn, Jake and Sarah felt the change. Traders and travelers brought news of the galaxy's reactions. Some laughed, but others sent secret messages of support. Their survival was becoming a symbol. One day, while Jake repaired a broken transmitter, Syra watched the stars. "They think this is a joke," she said quietly, "but they don't see what we are building here." Jake nodded. "They gave you to me to humiliate you, but instead we are stronger together. They will regret this." Syra's eyes burned with quiet fire. "Let them come. We will show them that strength comes from unity, not bloodlines or old power." Their small home became a place of hope. People from nearby settlements came to learn from Syra's knowledge and Jake's courage. Together, they built new machines, shared stories, and planned for the future. But the nobles did not forget. They sent spies and mercenaries to watch, to find weaknesses. They wanted to stop what they saw as a threat before it grew. One night, Jake heard noises outside. He grabbed his old rifle and moved quietly toward the door. Shadows moved between the rocks. Mercenaries had come. He raised his weapon but stopped when Syra appeared behind him. "Wait," she whispered. "Let me try." Syra stepped outside and spoke in the alien tongue, her voice calm but strong. The mercenaries hesitated, confused. She told them that harming her or Jake would bring war. She spoke with the power of a princess and the courage of a warrior. The mercenaries lowered their weapons and left. Jake looked at Syra, amazed. "You really are more than just a princess." Syra smiled. "They gave me to you as a joke, but I am here to rewrite the story." The galaxy was changing. The joke was backfiring. And the future belonged to those who dared to be different. The red skies of New Dawn stretched wide as the weeks passed. Jake and Sarah had grown closer, their bond stronger with every shared challenge. But nothing could have prepared them for what was about to happen. One morning, Syra awoke feeling strange. Her body was different, stronger, warmer. She had no idea what was happening but knew it was important. The curse that had haunted her family for generations might be breaking. "Jake," she said quietly, her voice full of wonder. "Something is happening." Jake looked at her carefully, concern and hope mixing in his eyes. "What do you mean?" "I feel different, like new life is growing inside me." Jake stared, speechless. He remembered the noble's cruel words about her infertility, the jokes that had brought them here. Now, the impossible was happening. Syra's doctors were few and far between on New Dawn, but with Jake's help, she used old texts and alien medical tools to check herself. The signs were clear. She was pregnant. News spread quietly at first. A princess, thought to be infertile, carrying a child with a human. Scientists and scholars across planets began to whisper, some in disbelief, others in fear. "This is a miracle," a scientist said in a holo conference, "or a threat to everything we know." Back on New Dawn, Jake and Sarah prepared for the changes to come. The child was a symbol, not just of life but of hope and unity. Yet danger also loomed. The noble houses would never accept such a challenge to their power. Syra felt the weight of the future on her shoulders but refused to be afraid. "This child will change the galaxy," she told Jake. "We must protect them." Jake nodded, his old soldier's heart ready to fight for the family they were becoming. "They gave you to me as a joke. Now we will prove them wrong in every way." The pregnancy was not easy. Syra's alien body fought the change, but her spirit was unbreakable. Jake stayed by her side, learning more about her people and their hidden strength. One night, as stars glittered above, Syra looked at Jake and whispered, "This child is not just ours. It is a new beginning." The galaxy watched with bated breath. Would the child survive? Would it be accepted? Or would it become a target? For now, Jake and Sarah faced the unknown together, ready to rewrite the rules of power and life itself. News of Sarah's pregnancy spread quietly but quickly across the distant stars. For many, it was shocking. An alien princess, thought to be infertile, carrying a human child. But for others, especially those tired of the cruel rule of the alien nobles, it was a sign of hope. On New Dawn, Jake and Sarah began receiving secret messages from faraway planets. These messages came from humans and aliens who wanted to help. They sent supplies, information, and words of encouragement. Some even traveled in secret to join their cause. One evening, while Jake and Sarah sat by the fire, a small group of travelers arrived. They were from different worlds: a tough alien warrior, a clever human engineer, and a wise healer from a distant planet. They came with a message. The time for change was near. "We have seen what you are doing," said the alien warrior. "You give hope to the weak and strength to the oppressed." Zyra looked at Jake and then at their new allies. "Together, we can build something new. A galaxy where no one is judged by their blood or power." Jake nodded. "They gave me an infertile princess as a joke. But now, we are stronger than ever." The group began to plan. They talked about how to protect Syra and her child from the angry nobles. They discussed how to spread the message of unity and strength across the galaxy. Their alliance grew day by day. More people came, drawn by the promise of a better future. They shared skills, weapons, and knowledge. They trained together and prepared for the challenges ahead. Zyra's health was delicate, but her spirit was fierce. She taught the group what she had learned from her royal training: how to fight, how to lead, and how to heal. Jake was proud. He saw the princess not as a joke, but as a leader. And he knew that their child would be born into a new world, one they would fight to create. But the nobles were watching. They saw the growing power of the alliance and feared what it meant. Rumors of rebellion began to spread. Secret orders were sent to stop the movement before it could grow. One night, as the alliance gathered to celebrate a small victory, Zyra's hand rested on her belly. "Our child is not just a life," she said softly. "It is a symbol of hope, of change, of a future where all can be free." Jake smiled, feeling the warmth of the fire and the strength of their friends around him. "We will protect that future, no matter what." The galaxy was waking up. The joke that began with a cruel gift was now the spark of a revolution. The quiet peace on New Dawn was shattered one cold night. Jake was standing guard outside their small base when he saw shadows moving between the red rocks. The nobles had sent their soldiers, a force far larger and better armed than anything Jake's group had faced before. He rushed inside to warn Syra and the alliance. "They're coming," he said, breathless. "The nobles want to take her, and the child." Syra's eyes flashed with determination. "We will not let them win." The alliance sprang into action. The alien warrior led the fighters, the engineer prepared traps and weapons, and the healer tended to the weak. Jake and Syra worked side by side, ready to defend their home. When the soldiers arrived, they were surprised to find resistance. The alliance fought bravely, using every skill and trick they had. Jake's experience and Syra's royal training made them strong leaders. During the battle, Syra's healing power saved many. Her hands glowed as she mended wounds and kept her people fighting. The nobles had never expected such strength from the infertile princess. The fight was fierce, but the alliance held their ground. The nobles were forced to retreat, their pride wounded and their mission failed. After the battle, Jake looked at Syra with respect. "You're more powerful than anyone believed." Syra smiled, tired but proud. "They thought they could use me as a joke, but I am more than that." I fight for our future. The victory was a turning point. News of the battle spread across the galaxy, inspiring more to join the cause. The joke had become a warning. Humanity and the alien princess were not to be underestimated. But the nobles would not give up easily. They would return, stronger and more determined. For now, Jake, Zyra, and their growing alliance had won a precious moment of peace, a moment to prepare for the battle still to come. The long days of waiting finally ended on the dusty planet of New Dawn. Zyra's time had come. The alliance gathered around her small home, a mix of humans and aliens, their faces full of hope and worry. Jake held her hand tightly. "You're going to be okay," he whispered, his voice steady but full of emotion. Zyra smiled weakly. This child is more than just life. It is the future. The labor was hard. Zyra's alien body fought against the pain, but her spirit was stronger. She called on every bit of her royal strength, every lesson learned in war and survival. After hours that felt like days, a cry filled the room. Soft, but full of power, the child was born. They looked at the baby, a beautiful mix of human and alien features. Its skin shimmered with a soft glow, and its eyes held a strange light. This was no ordinary child. The healer examined the baby carefully. "This child carries the power of two worlds," she said. "It is a symbol of hope and change." News of the birth spread quickly across the galaxy. Many were amazed. A child born against all odds, a sign that the impossible could happen. Zyra rested, holding her child close. Jake watched them both, his heart full. "They gave you to me as a joke," he said softly. "But you gave us all a new beginning." The alliance grew stronger with the child's birth. More joined their cause, inspired by the living proof that change was possible. The noble houses, however, grew darker with fear and anger. But Zyra and Jake did not back down. They knew the child's life would be dangerous, but they also knew that this new hope was worth every risk. Under the red skies of New Dawn, a new story had begun. One of courage, unity, and a future that no one could ignore. The birth of Zyra's child sent ripples through the galaxy. What began as a cruel joke had grown into a beacon of hope, inspiring many who suffered under the harsh rule of the noble houses. People whispered of change, and secret meetings were held in hidden places. Jake stood at the front of a small gathering in the caves near New Dawn. Humans, aliens, and mixed races listened closely as he spoke. "We are stronger together," he said. "The old powers fear us because we represent a new future." Zyra stood beside him, holding their child. Her eyes shone with determination. "This child is the symbol of what we can become, united and free." The alliance grew. Fighters trained in the rocky caves. Engineers built weapons from scraps. Healers prepared for the wounded. The people were ready to fight for a better life. Word of the rebellion reached the noble houses quickly. They saw their control slipping and planned to crush the movement before it could spread. But Jake and Zyra were ready. One night, the alliance attacked a supply convoy belonging to the nobles. It was a risky mission, but they succeeded, taking weapons and supplies that gave them strength. The victory was small, but it sent a powerful message. The rebellion was real and growing. Back on New Dawn, the people celebrated. For the first time, many felt hope. But the fight was far from over. The nobles sent their best soldiers to hunt down the rebels. Battles would come, and sacrifices would be made. Jake looked at Zyra and their child, feeling the weight of the future. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for them," he said quietly. Zyra nodded. "And for every person who dreams of freedom." As the stars burned brightly above, the rebellion ignited, a fire that would change the galaxy forever. The galaxy had changed. The cruel joke that began on New Dawn was now a legend whispered in stars and shadows. Jake, Zyra, and their child stood at the center of a new hope, a hope born from pain, struggle, and the strength of unity. After years of fighting, The alliance had grown into a powerful force. They had challenged the old noble houses and their harsh rule. Many worlds had joined the cause, tired of oppression and eager for freedom. The child, named Alien, had grown stronger every day. Alien's unique abilities, a gift from both parents, symbolized the future of the galaxy, a place where differences were strength, not weakness. In a grand hall on the reclaimed planet of Zarnath, the former seat of noble power, Jake and Sarah stood before a gathering of leaders from many worlds. The old ways were ending, and new laws were being made, laws that promised equality and justice. Sarah spoke clearly and with passion. We were given to each other as a joke, but together we built a family, a movement, a new future. This galaxy belongs to all who live in it, no matter their race or origin. Jake nodded. We fought hard, and we will continue to protect this future. But today, we choose peace. The crowd erupted in applause. For the first time, humans and aliens stood side by side, united by shared hope. But peace was fragile. There were still those who resisted change. Jake and Sarah knew the fight was never truly over, but they believed in the power of unity and love. As the ceremony ended, Jake looked down at Alien, who smiled with bright eyes full of promise. This is just the beginning, Jake said softly. Sidera squeezed his hand, and together, we will face whatever comes next. Under the stars of a new dawn, the galaxy began to heal. The story of the infertile alien princess and the human who loved her was no longer a joke. It was a legend, a reminder that even the smallest hope can light the darkest night.